Okay, so this is the lecture that I give for rendering. I require my students to provide at least one rendering on the PowerPoint they do for their final project. I use Rob Rodriguez's presentation from SolidWorks World. It's an excellent presentation, and I highly recommend it. So we start with this little toy car made out of Lego, and you can download this from accesscadsolutions.com, or you can run a web search for Rob Rodriguez's Instant Images PhotoView 360 presentation. I will see if I can attach the files to this recording when I upload it to YouTube, but I don't know if I'll be able to. I do have the files attached to Canvas for my students, and they had to miss my rendering lecture this week because the campus was closed. So the first thing you want to look at to see is if you have PhotoView 360 open and available. You should see it on the menu here or in the SolidWorks add-ins. Notice here in the SolidWorks add-ins, you can click on PhotoView 360 and that should load it up. And then you'll see PhotoView 360 on the menu here. And notice now I have a render tools here. That I didn't have that available before because that was part of the PhotoView 360. So your first step is to make sure you've got PhotoView 360 loaded. If you don't have PhotoView 360, you're dead in the water. You need to have the PhotoView 360 loaded and available. Okay, so we've got it. Notice you see it up here in the menu, and we do have it as a ribbon. So, and it doesn't matter whether you use it from here or the ribbon, they're basically the same tools. Okay. We're going to open one of the tires. So I can open the tire either from here by selecting the tire and the ribbon and going to open part, or I can locate the tire in the part browser and right click and go open. Either way, I'm going to get to the same place where I'm opening the file. These are older version files, so there you go. So here's my tire, all right, and it's a lovely tire. What I want to do is I want to assign a material to it. So I'm going to come over to the Appearances folder. I'm going to go to Plastic Textured, okay. So I'm on this ribbon, Appearances, going to Plastic Textured, and then I'm going to locate the MT 11010. So that's the second one right here. And to apply it, all I have to do is double left click on the appearance that I want. So I'm just going to double left click and notice there it is. And I'm going to save it. And it's going to convert, and I'm going to say yes, I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to close. And notice what happened. As soon as I saved it, all 4 tires got that material. So I only needed to apply it to one tire, and all 4 tires adjusted because they're really the same file. It's just 4 instances of the same file. All right. So next, I'm going to apply material to this tire rim. So I'm going to go to, I'm still in plastic, I'm going to go to the medium gloss plastic, and I'm going to scroll down until I see yellow. So that's at the very bottom, it says yellow medium gloss plastic, and I'm just going to put my left mouse over it, and I'm going to drag and drop it over to the tire rim. And when I release my left mouse button, it's going to ask me, do I want to do the body or the part or the entire assembly? I don't want to do the entire assembly because if I do the entire assembly is going to be yellow. That's not going to look so great. So, but I do want to do it on the part. And notice that depending on what I select, different things are going to highlight. So when I select part, do you notice that all 4 tire rims get the color assigned? Because again, it's the same file, it's just 4 different instances. So I'm going to click on the part, and notice you see the part, and the part updated, even though I didn't save it. Now you have this arrow right here above your browser. If you click on it, notice you can see the different appearances that have been assigned to the various parts. So you can kind of see what's going on. And if you wanted to remove an appearance, I could right click and I could say remove that appearance. Okay, so if I click on that, notice I could remove all part appearances from the tire rim, and then it's gone. And when I bring it back and selected the part, it gets reapplied. Okay, so if you accidentally pick the wrong color or anything, or for example, if I had come over here and instead of selecting part, I'd select assembly, okay, and that's not what I wanted, I could have removed it over here or changed it over here. So this is kind of a good area to look at if you kind of want to see what has been applied where. Okay, so now I want to open up the TC chassis. So that's the main body. So I'm going to highlight this in the browser. I'm going to right click and say open part. There's my part. Okay, so it's like a little Lego part. All right, so first I'm going to apply the red medium gloss plastic there, and I just double clicked and there it is. All right, but I also want to add color to the number here, and so that is going to be a black, and it's going on this Boss extrude right here. So I'm going to locate that black medium gloss plastic, and I can actually drag and drop it over to the Boss extrude here in the browser. Notice there it is. Okay. Now, if I didn't want to do that, notice it's here. I'm going to remove that appearance. Okay. Another way is I could have come over here to this Boss extrude, and notice I can select the body or the part or just the Boss extrude. So notice how I can kind of control, and it gives me a preview. It's what's going to happen. I just want it on the Boss extrude, and so it's just on the Boss extrude. See there? All right, so there's different ways to control the appearance on parts. Okay, so now I want to get an idea of how it would look when I render it. So if I come over to the render tools, I have a preview window. So I'm going to click on the preview window, and I'm just going to say select the perspective view. And there's a little pause while it's bringing up the window, and I'm going to move the window over here so you can see it. And you can see that it looks very photorealistic. And that's the whole point of rendering, is it's supposed to look like a real object, even though it's a virtual SolidWorks model. So this is very cool, because if you're developing something where you haven't actually created the product or manufactured the product yet, you can throw this up on a GoFundMe site or something, and it looks like something real that people will want to invest money in. And it's a nice way to help people visualize what your product's going to see. And there's a big, what your product's going to look like, and there's a big demand for people who know how to create renderings and know how to work with all these materials. So it's definitely worth your time to invest a little bit of your time in learning how to render, because it's a valuable skill. Notice I can save the preview image here, and it allows me to save it as a JPEG, okay, so that I could then email it or put it into a document or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to close this window now. And notice I've got a tab here in my part browser, and it shows me the different appearances and what they've been applied on. And right now it's showing in order of history, so that's the order that the appearances were applied. I also can go alphabetical. I also can go by hierarchy. So this is what's been applied to features and what's been applied to the entire part. So that's very, right now this is just 2 appearances on one part, but if you have a very complex part, this is very useful to kind of help you organize what's been assigned to what. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to close it. And notice it updated in the assembly. So notice as we are adding colors, our assembly is looking a lot more cool, a lot more realistic. Okay. So now I'm going to select more than one file. I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to select the 2 axles, the TC dash. So I've got to come down and locate the TC dash and the TC seat. So I'm going to come down and locate the TC seat, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to locate the light gray medium plastic. So notice these are highlighted in the browser, they're highlighted in the window, and then I'm just going to double left click here, and that assigned that color. And again, if you come over here, you'll see that color has been assigned, and you can kind of walk through and see what's been assigned to what. Okay. And if I come over and I check out the hierarchy, you can see what's been assigned to components versus what's been assigned to features versus what was assigned at the part level. Okay, and the difference is between whether it's a component or a part is if I open the part up and assigned it at the part level, okay, versus whether I just did a drag and a drop. Okay, let's go back here. We're going to open up the TC seat and apply a decal. So decals are really great. I use them a lot for like labeling, for like serial number labels or part labels or shipping labels, that kind of thing. You apply decals right here. See, right, it says decal, view decals. So I'm on the display manager tab on the browser, and I select the view decals, and I click on open Decal Library, and it has a bunch of decals here. These are just decals that come with SolidWorks, and you can just drag and drop them on here, and you can use these little mapping to adjust, its location if you want, okay, and how big it is. See that? All right, and the rotation. You do not have to, you're not constrained to just using what's in here. You can use any image file. So if I browse here and I go to my pictures, let's see if I can find some pictures. Okay. Okay. So there's a dog. You can see my dog right there. So any picture can go on there. So you can pick whatever picture you want and place it on your there, and it's giving you this nice little decal. Okay, and when you're done, you can just save it, close it, and notice the decals just sitting there. How cool is that? Okay. And notice if I come over here and I look at the decals, it shows the decal right there and what face I selected for the decal. And if I wanted to modify the decal or delete it, I would click on delete. If I want to edit it, I would come back over here and I could get another picture if I wanted. Okay. So now let's take a look at what it would look like if I did a preview rendering. So I'm going to switch to an isometric view. I'm going to just go like that. And I'm going to do the preview window. Oh no. Preview window crashed. So let's try again. And there it is. And look how nice that is. Okay, so that's my rendering. If I wanted to do a final render, I would click on Final Render. Okay, and this is for once you've gone through your preview and you're really, really sure about what you're doing and you're really happy with it. I'm trying to move the window over to the screen where I'm recording. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so this is the final render window. Okay, and notice that the quality of the final render is a little bit nicer than here. You can, on the final render, you can save your image, so you can like create like a library of different images that you can use. Okay. And you can do some things with the output that I'll show you later. I'm going to close this. I'm going to come back to the display manager, and now I'm going to look at the cameras and the lights. Notice I've got a camera right here. I'm going to show the camera so you can kind of see it. Notice I've got two cameras. I've got camera 1 and I've got a background image camera. If I want to add a camera, okay, notice it splits the screen, okay, and it's kind of showing me this camera here, and notice I can use the gizmo to kind of adjust what I'm looking at, okay, and in the other screen, so I can zoom in, I can adjust the position of my camera, and notice you can kind of see as I move my camera about, I'm seeing different things on the other side. Let me move this out of the way to make it a little bit easier for me to see what I'm looking at. Okay. And so you can kind of see what's going on with the camera. And I've got the target right here. So it's like showing me how it's targeting. I can move it closer to do a little close-up. I can move around my model. You see that? And just kind of really see what's going on. So depending on my target and how I position things, and I'm working in 3D, so you know, you kind of have to be aware that when you're working in 3D, things look a little bit different. Notice I can move my camera up or down, and notice how it changes on the right, you know, in terms of what you're seeing. Okay, so you kind of want to get an idea of your view and what you're trying to accomplish, and it's kind of like posing any kind of model. And notice it shows you I'm aimed at a target. I can select what my target point is going to be, and it's going to adjust. I can position it by selection, okay, and it's going to adjust that way, okay. And I can set whether my field of view is perspective or not, okay. And I can adjust my depth of field. See that? So there are a lot of things you can control with your camera, okay. And then if I want to see what that camera looks like, I can, this is showing me my camera view. That's showing me my camera view. So if you right click and you say camera view, it shows you what the view is based on how that particular camera is defined. Okay, so you can add as many cameras as you like, and it's kind of a way of saving views. So the other thing we can do is we can add lighting. So notice we've got ambient lights, directional lights. If you want to add a light, you can see the lights here. I'm going to have to unlock the camera in order to see the lights. But you can see the various lights. See that? And let's see if I can. Okay, so here's the directional light, render light. Notice it's right now it's off in SolidWorks. If I want to turn it on, I'd have to right click and turn it on. Okay. I can edit that light. If I edit the light, then I can move it around, and notice as I move it around how the shadowing changes and how the lights change. See that? So you can get kind of a different effect. Okay, if you want to add a light, notice you can add a directional light, a spotlight, a point light. So if I wanted to add a point light, okay, I can, for example, add a point light on the two headlights. Okay, so see there's a point light right there. And it kind of will give me a different effect. And I just want to keep that light on regardless of the scene. And I want to make sure they're both turned on. And you're not really going to see how the lighting works until you do your rendering. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to look at scenes. And if you come over here to appearances, notice there are various scenes you can select. Okay, different scenes are going to affect your lighting. So you can kind of see the scenes. I'm going to unshow the lights, so I'm going to hide the lights so you don't see them, so you're not distracted by them. If you wanted to edit your scene, you can add your own scene. in the files that come with this, we can edit the scene. We can use a different scene. Okay, so I can browse to that toy car, and there's a little children's room. I'm gonna browse, and I don't want to I'm gonna keep the floor a certain place. Okay, and so my floor isn't going as nicely as I want to. We've got all sorts of backgrounds that come with SOLIDWORKS, so you can see that I can use my zoom in and my pan to kind of position my model so it looks more realistic, you know, in terms of what's going on. And I'm just double left clicking to apply it. See that? And then just using my pan and my zoom in and zoom out to make it kind of fit into the screen. So there's a little bit of movie magic going on there. So if I do my preview, see, it looks like you've got that background in there, you've got some shadows in there. It looks like, and you can see the headlights, see the point lights that I, you know, that I put in. So you can see those lights that I added. Okay, and again, if I do my final render, where did the final render go? Okay, and you see on the screen it's kind of pixelating the rendering as it goes. So a lot of rendering is you want to make a small change, render it, see what it looks like, make a small change, render it, see what it looks like. So you don't want to make too many changes, add too many lights, change the background too many times, because then you can't really keep track of what the changes actually did. So you want to make a small change and then render it and see what the results are. And there's a certain amount of trial and error to see, you know, what looks good or what gives you the effect that you want, that you're looking for. Think in terms of mood, how you're trying to sell the product or the model, and what you want to pop, how you want the viewer's eyes to go. So in terms of posing your model, what kind of background and environment you want to use. This should be something fun. This should be something fun to do, something you enjoy doing, and you can see that the final rendering is going to take longer than the preview rendering, so you don't want to do the final rendering until you've gotten a pretty good idea of what you're trying to do, what your accomplishment is, what your goal is. And you can see it's finishing up. And keep in mind that one of the big mistakes that a lot of students or beginner users make is they hear the word photorealistic and they think that it needs to be realistic, but it's more like smoke and mirrors, movie magic type of thing. You're going to do stuff that isn't necessarily realistic in order to get the effect that you want. For example, a lot of times I'll put lights under the ground or inside of a box to get a different effect. So that's basically what you want to do. You want to play around with lighting and coloring. The other thing that I like to do is I'll create walls outside of the view, and I'll bounce light off the walls, just like a professional photographer might do with screens. And I'll use colored lights or add color to the walls or the screens that I bounce lights off, just to get a different effect. So you might want to play with that a little bit. So that's what it is about the rendering, and I hope you enjoy it and get a lot of fun creating your renderings.